Every so often, we may hear about nuclear reactor incidents. Now, if you're not sure what I'm referring to, I'm talking about the Chernobyl disaster of 1986 and the Fukushima Daiichi accident of 2011. Now, these are two of the major radiation incidents to hit the face of the Earth. Today is being observed as International Day Against Nuclear Tests, which serves to spread public awareness on how nuclear testing can create devastating and harmful effects on the lives and health of people and the environment if not done correctly. Too much has already been lost as a result of these tests. Every technological advancement must be coupled with safety. I'm glad you could join us on this Jamaica Magazine program. I'm Theodore Henry. Please stay with us. We have more coming up after these messages.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, August 29, 2023. Transport Minister Darrell Vaz is affirming government's commitment to further building out the fleet of the Jamaica Urban Transit Company, starting with 100 additional buses next year.
You would have heard that Minister Clark mention 100 buses for next year and 100 for the following year. My aim is to see how we can order some more buses this year, because we need to get at least another 100 buses in the system.
Minister Vaz gave that update on Friday during the offloading of 50 new buses for the JUTC at the Kingston Wharves. Their addition means the JUTC will be able to roll out 315 buses just in time for back to school. Of those 315 units, 120 will operate out of the Portmore Depot, 99 from Spanish Town, and 96 from the Rockfort Depot. These will be a mix of new and repaired units. An additional 15 buses will be on hold to replace units that malfunction. Another 312 schools are expected to receive internet connectivity by December of this year. Minister of Education and Youth Fable Williams gave that update as she addressed delegates attending the 59th annual conference of the Jamaica Teachers Association recently. These institutions will add to 464 schools that have already been connected, bringing the total number to 776. Minister Williams says different technologies are being used to provide schools with internet access, as the government remains committed to delivering on its promise for broadband connectivity to all Jamaican schools.
So those that are close to the government's fiber optic cables, we're connecting those schools. There are other schools that are being connected using microwave technology. There are other schools being connected using satellite and other technology. Whatever it takes, we are going to ensure that we connect all of our schools all across Jamaica.
The minister says this is an ambitious program which began 2 years ago and will take another 2 years to see completion.
We do not only want for internet to be present in the administrative offices. We want for it to be present in classrooms as well. So you, our teachers in classrooms, will have the use of that to help with your lessons. We will get the service to you. It is our commitment. This is a major pillar of transformation in education.
The Jesse Ripoll Primary School has launched a digital library initiative to foster STEAM-based education for students. The school will be establishing a fundraising drive for $1.4 million to finance the effort that's being jointly pursued by the Jesse Ripoll Alumni Association and Parent Teachers Association. The funds will also be used to alter the virtual classroom's space to fit the necessary computer desks, chairs, and other equipment and software. State Minister of Education and Youth Marcia Smith has praised the school's efforts and adds that parents, teachers, and students may all use the ministry's free digital library. This digital library contains more than 70 pieces of educational and reading material.
We believe that by improving access to technology and technological devices, we will create a level playing field for all our students, allowing them to see the endless possibilities that exist for careers in science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics.
Regional Director for the Jamaica Library Service, Natanya Garwood, adds that schools may also access JLS's digital services.
The Jamaica Library Service is equally happy to continue collaborating with the Jesse Paul Primary School to offer technical support and access to our wide range of digital library service, which are freely available.
More water shops are being built in sections of Clarendon to offset the serious water shortages affecting residents in those communities. During a recent tour of North Central Clarendon, local government minister Desmond McKenzie stressed that while water shops were not the answer to the crisis, they were a short-term solution to satisfy residents' immediate needs.
We will just leave Gardenwood, where we're going to be putting down a 20,000 gallon water shop, and we're moving on to Beckford Crawl, where we're going to be putting in a 16,000 gallon water shop to try to deal with the needs of the communities who are really struggling.
The parish will also be getting another water truck.
And a part of the commitment of the government, knowing that Clarendon is one of those parishes that suffers, especially in the hills of Clarendon, in this part of Clarendon, we're going to be providing allocations to the municipal corporation to purchase another water truck for the parish of Clarendon.
And finally, the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA, is urging hunters participating in the 2023 game bird hunting season to abide by the guidelines under the Wildlife Protection Act. The season opened on Saturday, August 19, and runs for 6 weekends until Sunday, September 24. During that time, persons can get licensed to hunt 4 game birds, namely the white-crowned pigeon, white-winged dove, Zenadia dove, and the mourning dove. The season's hunting sessions are from sunrise to 9 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. to sunset on Saturdays, and from sunrise to 9 a.m. on Sundays. For each session, a hunter with a valid hunting license is permitted up to 20 game birds. Of the 4 approved birds, hunters are allowed to have no more than 15 white-crowned pigeons. The feathered heads of all game birds shot must be retained on the bird for inspection. Each breach under the Wildlife Protection Act will attract a fine of up to $100,000 or 12 months imprisonment. Hunting reports not completed and returned by December 31 of the same year of the season attract a late processing fee of $5,000. This must be paid before a subsequent hunter's license is granted. Hunting licenses can be obtained from NEPA's head office at 10 Caledonia Avenue, Kingston 5, or any of the authorized vendors island-wide. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Are you aware of how Jamaican adolescents use social media? What do they do online? What do they post? Do you know if they are being harassed? These are questions you should be asking yourself because it is your duty to keep your children safe online. Parents, here's what you need to do. Be active online and offline. Help your child to set up his or her online profile. Make sure you familiarize yourself with the different social media applications that they use and set some rules. Protect our nation's children and save them from cybercriminal attacks.
The new school year is upon us, and if you are considering transferring your child because of a few practical reasons, now is the time to do so. Our upcoming feature has the tips you need to get the process started.
The Ministry of Education and Youth is responsible for the placement of students who sit the Primary Exit Profile PEP exam, which assesses students' knowledge as well as critical thinking and communication. Students are placed based on the results of the Primary Exit Profile PEP tests given in grades 4, 5, and 6. The parents' or guardians' top choices from a list of potential schools. While the Ministry of Education and Youth does not generally assist with student transfers from one school to another, requests will be supported in circumstances of proximity. This is when a child may have been assigned to a school where he or she would have to travel considerably long distances from home to school. However, in cases where you are seeking transfers for children who have already been placed in schools by the Primary Exit Profile PEP placement process, it is your responsibility as a parent to contact a school that is willing to accept your child or children. Here are the steps to allow for a smooth transfer process. Submit a letter of request for transfer to the school desired. The school should then provide you, the parent or guardian, with an acceptance letter. Take that acceptance letter to the school where the child was originally placed. The school administrator must then provide a release letter. You are then required to write a letter addressed to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Youth, requesting approval for transfer. This letter must be accompanied by the acceptance and release letters and should be taken to the respective regional office. The Ministry of Education and Youth, through the regional offices, will send approval letters to the accepting and releasing schools within 1 week from the date received. Make sure you have the necessary paperwork from the primary school to speed up the procedure. And that will be the child's last 2 reports, grades 5 and 6. A recommendation from the principal, the official scoring sheet from the Ministry of Education and Youth with the child's grades for PEP. Other documents such as the child's birth certificate and immunization record should also be made available. And keep in mind that it is your duty to get in touch with a school that will accept your child. Follow the transfer procedure to help your child enroll in the institution you believe will give him or her the best chance for a successful academic career.
The main purpose of a nuclear reactor is to control the amount of energy that is released. The Jamaican Slowpoke 2 research reactor, JM1, operated by the University of the West Indies on its Mona campus, is used for neutron activation analysis of trace elements in studies related to health, agriculture, the environment, and other fields. Learn more next.
Building reactors is expensive. That is one caveat in other countries having them to begin with. Jamaica was fortunate in that we had a predecessor, Professor Gerald Laylaw, who had contacts both within the government as well as in international agencies who funded the construction of this reactor in 1984, when the reactor was commissioned. We've been fortunate to use it for so many good works that Jamaica has benefited from since and will continue to benefit from in the future.
This nuclear reactor that we're discussing today is the Slowpoke 2 Research Reactor, located at the International Center for Environmental and Nuclear Sciences in Kingston. It is the only one of its kind in the English-speaking Caribbean.
It's strange, not many people know that. It's not a power reactor, we don't generate electricity. It's a tiny reactor and compared to what you might have seen in the movies, actually. Our reactor is just 20 kilowatts, so think about it like 20 tea kettles in your house. That's the amount of power that it has. So it's definitely not power and definitely not going to cut your light bill right now. But what we use this reactor to do is research.
This is very important for us Jamaicans, as nuclear techniques have been applied to study a range of topics from health to agriculture and even climate change.
How the reactor works, it's a device that basically generates neutrons. These neutrons are generated through a process called fission. Fission is basically when the atoms split. So every time those atoms split, it's generating heat. We have a thing in the reactor called a control rod. So think of it like a flashlight. If I put that flashlight on my hand and it's on, you're not going to see the light. That light in this case represents free neutrons. As I lift that light, in this case the control rod, then I can see more glow. That's more neutrons available. And the more they interact is the more they split, and it's a controlled reaction that occurs in the reactor. When you think about power reactors, that heat that's generated is what's used to propel steam turbines and create energy that we would use as electricity. But in our case, since we're not using it for energy, what we're using it to do is basically irradiate the sample that you give me. So if you come to me as a client and you're curious, what's in my plant or what's in my soil, I basically expose your soil or plant to these free neutrons and it gets irradiated. Once you give me your sample and I expose it to radiation, it becomes radioactive. Since it's radioactive, it's basically going to start decaying over a period of time. When it decays, it has these unique gamma rays, which we can pick up on our detector right here. Those unique gamma rays there can tell me how much of what is in your sample. If you're curious as to how much arsenic is in your plant or how much arsenic is in your soil and chromium, that's the information that I'll be able to provide. The number may or may not mean much to you. How that relates is to regulatory policies that are set by agencies that are not us, for example, NEPA or even the World Health Organization. They have limits that are set for lead in soil or lead in plants or lead in water. What we can do is do our analysis and provide a result so that you have an idea of what you're working with, whether as someone going into agriculture or you're thinking about exporting. So this entire lab is a part of the whole process. When I get a sample and it's prepared, we package them in these polyethylene vials. That's what we use to send to the reactor. If you think about it like when you go to the banks in the States and you put your money in this tube and you shoot it to the teller, in this case the teller is the reactor. We do the same thing here, but they're much tinier vials.
This nuclear reactor and its value to the research field is part of what is helping to make Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business.
Victims, unfortunately, sometimes experience what we call secondary victimization or even victim blaming. As a result of that, some of them are very fearful to come forward for the assistance that they need and to come forward and tell their story. We at the Victim Services Division, we assure individuals that we provide a safe, therapeutic environment for you to come. We ensure that privacy is maintained. We ensure that information remains confidential. We have a very professional cadre of staff members, social workers, psychologists. These persons are trained to be able to do what they do and to be able to provide the necessary therapeutic support for victims. Additionally, we operate on a principle of neutrality. It does not matter who you are. It does not matter what your story is. Our doors are open to you once you have become a victim of a crime.
For more information, contact the Victim Services Division in your parish and get help today.
Shopping can be a tiring, stressful task when not planned properly. And now, when we're planning for the upcoming academic year, shopping for the essential back-to-school items can be challenging, especially if you don't have a budget. Up next, we hear from the Consumer Affairs Commission on how to shop on a budget for back-to-school.
Generally finding enough money to buy everything that the kids need. That's the biggest challenge because the book list these days are long.
Getting the right thing at the right price. But to back to school, I'm kind of raise the price. That's the thing right now.
High price are one of the main problems, and sometimes the book list too long.
Communications specialist at the Consumer Affairs Commission, CAC, Dorothy Campbell, has a wealth of knowledge on this matter. And so we put the question to her. What's the most important thing parents can do when seeking to shop for back to school on a budget?
What we've asked them to do is to plan ahead. So you plan by collecting a list from the schools of exactly what is required. You plan your transportation route, if you're driving, if you're taking the bus. And you also plan how much you have to spend. So you use that list to prioritize what are the needs, what are the wants, what are the must-haves for the first couple of weeks at school. And then from then you determine what is the total cost and how much you have to spend.
Okay, so plan and prioritize. But how do parents even go about deciding the needs from the wants?
The CAC recommends that the parents divide the needs. So you'll have the needs that are, say, uniforms, school shoes, bags, that kind of thing. But you also have some needs prior to getting into school, which are medical examinations, eye tests, because your child might need glasses. You know, some of those things that you might have to do prior to going into back to school shopping. And then you determine what is the best option. Do you need to buy a new pair of school shoes the first month or the first 6 weeks of school? But I think what parents are going to focus mostly on is getting the kids ready in terms of their books. So those are some of the things that we say, try and go get those books first and then determine whether you'll need newer items like shoes and socks and belts and epaulets and ties and so on. But those are necessary if it's a new school. But if it's a repeat, if you're going back to your old school, you just need to top up maybe a new uniform or repair the shoes or something like that.
A good reminder that not everything needs to be new. Perhaps one of the most painstaking challenges for back to school is dealing with the matter of textbook shopping.
When you go in, you expect to find something at one price, but you go to another store and you see it at a totally different price. And so people may feel a bit of remorse, saying they pay so much here when they could have get it cheaper somewhere else.
Well, there's no need for remorse if parents and other consumers make use of the wonderful and effective tools available to them at the CAC.
The biggest thing on our brag list is our annual textbook survey, and we've been doing it for 20 years. So the research unit is, they're really efficient at this. So that's what we do every year, and we use that to help consumers to go to the website for those who have access and or call the CAC to get information about where the books are available, what is the average price for those books and so on.
In addition to the survey, there is also a price comparison tool.
The price comparison tool is available on our website, and you can go in, select the items, fill your basket based on what you have to spend and determine exactly whether you want to get your science books from this particular store because the prices are low.
In addition to all of that, a tried and true tested way of cutting costs is getting used books. Many schools, churches, and other organizations often undertake book drives that you could look into.
So you can get some of those books at reduced prices.
And don't be afraid to ask around.
Ask your friends, where did you get the khaki uniforms? Where did you get the shoes? Where did you get, these supplies? And you compare those prices, the stores that are either closer to home or closer to your office or your job.
Any other advice, any other tips that you want to share?
Don't get overwhelmed by the book list or by the requirements. Just try to prepare that child for the first 2 weeks of school. Just think about the first 2 weeks of school and get him ready.
So you heard you can get your back to school necessities but still stay within budget.
Suzanne Rousseau. I am one half of a sister team. This is my sister Michelle. We are, Lord, we're lots of things. We're restaurateurs, we have been caterers, we've been in the food business for the past 20-something years.
Our father was also a hotelier and in the restaurant business, so we grew up in a functioning, operating restaurant just because we were around that environment a lot. And we perceive ourselves not as chefs, but as sort of translators and storytellers of the lifestyle.
I think food is a source of unity and connectivity because I think everyone can kind of go, oh, over something delicious. Whether you're from Japan, Italy, or Jamaica, you can find commonality in the experience of something delicious.
I think the magic of Jamaica is really sort of intertwined with the cuisine and the personality of the people and the music and the sort of the vibrant energy that you get. And yet that's completely and perfectly married in the cuisine, because the cuisine is a melange of traditional foods inherited from slavery and colonial days. It's fun, it's vibrant, it's energetic, and it really marries very well with the lifestyle that we have here.
I think food is celebration, it's coming together, it's sharing, and I think very much in the Caribbean, it is very typical for families to gather, friends to gather, to celebrate over a meal. Caribbean culture and Jamaican culture is a culture of community and of celebration of life, even in hardship and even in hard times. And so I think all of those things just offer another kind of perspective. It's a unique way of living and a unique way of being.
This is where our program ends for today, but not to worry. Join us again tomorrow, same time, same place, for another insightful lineup. You may visit our website, jis.gov.jm, to catch up on this show and much more. I'm Theodore Henry, thanking you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.